What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Duty back again with another video, and my apologies, my upload schedule has been a little off lately. Your boy Duty's been dealing with not feeling too well, but I'm back on the mend. Things are getting a little bit better, and hopefully I'll be back on that grind without any further delay, folks. So thank you for your patience. I do appreciate it. Today we are taking a look at our boy DSP's daily rap video after, of course, the finale of Dark Souls Sonic Edition. That's right, our boy Phil had difficulty beating the end boss and lost his stuff over, of course, fighting Dr. Robotnik. But we all know where that stems from. It all stems from the lack of liquidity and tips after spending $60 on a game. That's right, folks. So let's see what Phil had to say on the daily wrap.
Folks, what a day. Welcome to the daily wrap for what was Wednesday, the 18th of October, 2023. A interesting streaming day, to say the least, when it comes to the games that I played and the things that happened in them. So hold on to your butts. You got to prepare yourself for some crazy stuff, because some stuff happened today that I was not planning on happening. And let's talk about that. First of all, today's podcast was a chill one. Once again, it was like the 5th straight day with no real gaming news going on. Way more relaxed stream in that regard. A lot of chill talking. I gave you my initial thoughts about Sonic Superstars and how in the first 3 hours we beat more than half the game, and how I wasn't really feeling too strongly about it being much better because it sounded like we were going to beat it today. And a full retail game that charges $60 for only 6 hours of gameplay is not a good game in my opinion.
Okay, so here's my first point in it. So I decided to skip the Sonic game just because I'm playing like a few other games and I just wouldn't have any time. I figured I'd wait until it get discounted and then I'll pick it up. But from my understanding is the game is way more than 6 hours long, Phil. And you didn't even complete the game yesterday. There was another, you actually unlock another character and you can actually continue playing the game with that other character, and you're supposed to get a different kind of end result. So it's not over. Just the mere fact that you were pissed off because Sonic turned into Dark Souls and it took you an hour to beat the end boss, and you decided just to quit it because the tips were not there. Yet again, this is yet another playthrough where the first stream of the game, he gets helped and propped up and gets a tier 2 tip go. Barely. I think he got $100. And then the second playthrough, the support just tanks. It utterly tanks. There was no support for that game whatsoever. Super chats, no memberships, nothing. Nothing at all. Some of the support came in around in the podcast, but nothing for the game. It was pretty pathetic. So of course, Phil's upset and he's in a bad mood because the tips and the liquidity were just not there for the game. He figured he spent $6, and in Phil's mindset, if he's spending $60 on a game, he better get tenfold. He better get at least $500 to $600 to $700 in tips for that game. If not, it's a bad game. That's clearly what it is. And he didn't even bother playing the other mode. I mean, there were some additional other modes. I mean, I'm not here to prop Sonic up and say Sonic is a great game. From what I see, it looks like a regular, a regular Sonic game with some different interesting things. They tried to do a couple different things, a little different, which is fine. But again, Phil's just upset because the tips weren't there. Trust me, if he would have made $150 on both streams, yesterday's stream, today's stream, the 2 streams, what he would have done was he would have played it a third time and did the online mode, hoping to get another at least $150. And of course, his tune would change to how he felt about the game. Again, it all comes down to money with Phil.
Especially in the modern day. So I had a lot to say about that. Plus, we talked about various other topics. My first stream was the conclusion of Sonic Superstars. We had Worlds 8, 9, 10, and 11 to get through. And yes, I absolutely did get through it in 3 hours. In fact, it was just enough time. And you might say, well, wait a minute. Why did you beat 7 worlds the first day, but only 4 worlds the second day? Well, I can tell you this. It wasn't the worlds. There was 2 incredibly annoying boss fights that were multi-phased boss fights, where if you die anywhere near it, anywhere in it, I should say, there's no checkpoints. So you have to do them completely from the start, and it's time consuming. The final boss of this game has like many phases, and at any point, if you mess up, there's cheap instant deaths that can happen. You could run out of rings. There's a couple times I lost my rings. It just wouldn't let me pick them up, despite the fact I ran over them and didn't pick them up, so that was it. And there's even times when the boss changes its patterns and you don't know what's coming, so you're going to take a hit or you're going to die, and then you got to start from the start again. It took me almost 40 minutes to beat the final boss of this game. Why? That was longer than literally any stage or world in the game. Why was the final boss so annoying?
And yet, if it would have took him 5 minutes to defeat the final boss, he would have bitched and complained that it was too short. You can't win with this fucking guy. You can't win with him. It took him more than 40 minutes. It only took him an hour to beat the end boss. Yeah, it was slightly challenging, but Phil treats this like a Dark Souls Sonic edition, just like Kirby was Dark Souls. Phil makes it seem like it's so difficult. It wasn't difficult. Maybe if you just paid attention to what the fuck you were doing and you weren't just trying to run through the board, you would have done a lot better. But of course not. Phil just wanted to get the game over with because he was already annoyed that he only made $50 in tips. And he knew that that was probably going to be the last playthrough of the game. So knowing the fact that he only made $150 on a $60 investment set Phil off and pissed him off and made him already had him in a bad mood about the game. Trust me, because just like I said earlier, if he would have made $150 on both playthroughs, he would have been willing to play one more time to see if he could have hit that $150 again, right? Maxing out at around $450. And his tune would have changed about the game. He would have said, oh, it's pretty good. It wasn't bad. I had some fun, but of course not, because it did not, and every video I posted, how many times did Phil say, I paid $60 for the game. I paid $60 for this game. Which clearly shows that he expected to make more content, aka more money, from this playthrough. And since that didn't happen, it set Phil off.
So, overall, my experience with Sonic Superstars was that I'd say half the game was boring and not very inspired, or chaotic and uninteresting. When you have so many paths to take in a stage and everything's bouncing all over the place and you can't really tell what's going on, it's not that interesting. Okay, I'm just being honest. There were some stages that were very reminiscent of older stuff, like the pinball zone is similar to Casino Night Zone. That was a good one. There was a desert stage where you kind of ride a giant snake. That was pretty neat. And there were some stages that had some really cool music. And today there was a very unique stage that had all pixel style. I forget it was called. It wasn't Digital Zone. It started with a G maybe. I can't remember exactly what it was called. But it was really neat. Okay, like I really liked that. It's visually and some gameplay elements. You're turning into various different 8-bit characters and stuff. It was really neat. It was well done. But sadly, only half of the game did I really enjoy. Honestly, it was like 3 hours of enjoyment, 3 hours of annoyance or boredom out of a $60 release. Now, just so you know, if you beat the game, you unlock a 5th playable character, and that character can either be replayed in the main story, or that character has their own mini story that you have to complete. Apparently, if you play through their own mini story, then you unlock a different final boss and the true ending of the game. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you, after playing this game for 6 hours, I have absolutely no desire to go back to it and do that. It's just not worth the time. I'm being honest. It's just not that good of a game. Sonic Superstars has inferior gameplay mechanics, inferior music, inferior level design, everything inferior to Sonic Mania. Sonic Mania hit it on the head of what you would want for a retro revival of classic 2D gameplay for Sonic. And Sonic Superstars goes 10 steps back towards what Sonic 4 was a decade ago, a game that no one liked. So it's like, let's move forward to what everyone asks for. Wow, this is critically acclaimed and does really well. Let's now go back 10 steps to what we did before that no one liked, and let's charge everyone more money for it. Wow, that really makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? No, it's a very bad outing. I will give you more detail on everything I just talked about on the podcast on Friday, but in general, I did not like this game. And only 6 hours in, and we've done pretty much all the content. That's a pretty big ripoff for a full-fledged game. I can't recommend it. I'll give you my full take on Friday, okay?
Why, Phil? You already spent how much time giving your take on what you thought about the game? And of course, most of that take is you spent $60 and it was too short. That's essentially what your take is, Phil. So we already know that your biggest complaint is you spent money on this and you didn't make the investment back. That's your fucking complaint. And that's not a complaint for a game. Games aren't created for streamers. Games are created for people to enjoy and to have fun with And the mere fact that you just couldn't make money off of it, Phil, is a you problem. That's a personal problem. And the mere fact that you judge games based on the fact on how you do performance-wise, how you do with money, is pretty fucking shitty and scummy. And that's why people don't. I mean, other than the handful of dents that to believe everything you say, no one holds you credible whatsoever. That's why when you give an opinion on something, everyone kind of shrugs or just rolls their eyes because you have a bias. You have an extreme bias, and that bias lens that you have always is focused around money. So your opinion isn't valuable. It just isn't. And I know that you've been trying to remake yourself recently with trying to get into certain certain type of things. You talked about maybe doing political analysis or whatever the case is. Again, no one's going to listen to you because, again, your main focus, your lens is always from a monetary view. For example, I'll give you one example. When you talk about companies and you trash companies, you always go back to the fact about money. You always narrow it down to money. You do. If we're talking about like Bobby Kotick, and yes, he's a scumbag. He should be gone. He shouldn't. He should have been removed years ago. Completely agree with you. But what's your focus? Oh, he's a rich, dirty scumbag. He makes all this money and he's so greedy. And then, he's just all about the money. That's your main focus. Instead of focusing on the topic that he allowed a lot of shitty things to happen on his watch and he should be removed about that. No, your hatred focuses on the fact that he's rich. And again, all of these different topics that you talk about always seem to have a bent around money. And that's why I just ignore you. Anyway, that's all I really have to say. Here's another 2 minutes about Starfield, who no one cares about, especially the way he's playing it, which is super boring. And yeah, that's about it. So he is on. Everybody enjoy your day off today. That's right. Enjoy your PTO. Make sure that you don't watch Phil's content, but make sure you watch some of my content. Your boy Duty will be pumping out some content soon. And hopefully you guys enjoy. So that is it. I am wrapping this up. Peace out.